Today I will be reading I Hate English by Ellen Levine. I hate English, Mei Mei said in her head in Chinese. Mei Mei was smart in school, in her school in Hong Kong, in Chinese. But her family moved to New York. She didn't know why. She didn't want to move. And she said all that in Chinese. Chinatown in New York was okay. People looked like people she knew. People talked like people she knew. In Chinese. In New York in school, everything happened in English. Such a lonely language. Each letter stands alone and makes its own noise. Not like Chinese. Sometimes English letters fight each other. We will go on a class trip, the teacher said in English. T-R-I-P, thought Mei Mei. The letters T and R bang against each other, and each keeps its own sound, not like Chinese. Mei Mei loved Chinese, especially writing. Fast strokes, short strokes, long strokes, the brush, the pen, the pencil, all seemed to fly in her hand. But that was Chinese. Mei Mei wouldn't speak in school. Most of the time she understood what her teacher said, but everything was in English, and Mei Mei wouldn't speak English. One day, her cousin Bing took her to the Chinatown Learning Center. Students brought their homework for help, but not Mei Mei. She wouldn't work in English. Tutors helped the older ones with their English. Mei Mei helped the little ones with math. She was good at arithmetic. Numbers weren't English or Chinese. They were just numbers. Mei Mei loved the center. She talked and listened and explained and argued. She did everything in Chinese. She helped the director set up the tables. She played ping pong and checkers. She sang songs. She wrote letters to friends in Hong Kong, all in Chinese. Dear Yi Feng, she wrote in Chinese. How would you like me to visit you? She laughed as she finished the letter. Then she had to write the address in English. Silly post office in New York, she thought. Why can't they read Chinese? Mei Mei had a dream. She thought about it at least once a day, sometimes twice or 3 times. She told Bing about it in Chinese. All the gang, Bing and Mona and Sheik and Leo and Anne, would go on a plane to Hong Kong. On the plane, everybody would speak Chinese. Instead, they went to Jones Beach with the director, Mei Mei, and her friends rode on 3 trains and 1 bus. They brought lunch, bathing suits, towels, and empty pails. The trip took 2 hours, and they talked and joked the whole way in Chinese. Leo and Bing buried themselves in the sand. Anne and Mona built a castle on top of them. Sheik, said Mei Mei, let's dig for shellfish. And off they went with their pails. You can't eat those, said the lifeguard. Mei Mei smiled and kept on digging. He probably doesn't know how to cook them, Sheik said in Chinese. She was right. The director made a fire in the picnic area and cooked the shellfish. Nobody said a word. Everybody was busy, very busy, eating. At least Mei Mei looked up and said, delicious, in Chinese. And then one day, a terrible thing happened. A teacher came to the learning center to help Mei Mei with English. Who was this person with short hair and blue eyes? And why was she smiling? Mei Mei was afraid. She wouldn't speak a word in English or Chinese. Hello, I'm Nancy, the person said. She pointed to an empty table. Let's sit down. Mei Mei understood the teacher's English. The teacher had a book, and she read a story. Mei Mei forgot that she didn't want to listen. The story was interesting, even if it was in English. It was about a boy who lived in New York more than 100 years ago. His family wanted to move to California. Mei Mei knew about California. She smiled to herself as she thought about California. In Chinese. The teacher read on. The family crossed the country in a covered wagon. Covered wagon, thought Mei Mei. She didn't know the words for covered wagon in Chinese. Mei Mei didn't want to hear anymore. She didn't want English to have words that she didn't know in Chinese. She felt sad, and a tear slid down her cheek. She didn't want the teacher to see, but the teacher did see and said, let's stop for today in English. That night in bed, Mei Mei felt afraid again. She wasn't sure why. She felt she might lose something. She felt she had lost something. She felt she would lose something. Good night, her mother said in Chinese. Good night, answered Mei Mei without thinking, in English. And then she fell into a deep sleep. She dreamed about Hong Kong. In the dream, she went to see Yi Feng. But Yi Feng said, "Who are you?" in English. "Who am I?" dreamt Mei Mei. "I don't even remember my name." She woke up shouting, "I am Mei Mei," in Chinese. The next day, Mei Mei was mad. She stared at the teacher. She glared at the teacher, and then said, "I don't care," to the teacher in English. "Very good," said Nancy. "I knew you could speak English." "But I don't think you really want to learn," Nancy continued. "And that's too bad." Why is it too bad? Thought Mei Mei in Chinese. The teacher seemed to read her mind, because in America, almost everything happens in English. Don't you want to go to an American movie? Don't you want to ask for pizza? Don't you want to have an ice cream cone? Don't you want to read the signs at the zoo? Don't you want to talk with me? "I want to talk with you," said Nancy in English. Mei Mei turned away. She wanted to tell Nancy that she liked her, but all she could say was, "I'm sorry," in English. Nancy suddenly jumped up. "Get your coat," she said to Mei Mei. "We are going to take a walk." Mei Mei said goodbye to Sheik in Chinese. On the street, a strange thing happened. Nancy didn't ask Mei Mei to talk. Nancy didn't care if Mei Mei talked. Nancy didn't want Mei Mei to talk. Nancy was talking in English. She told Mei Mei about her third-grade teacher. She told Mei Mei about her favorite book. She told Mei Mei that she loved tomatoes and potatoes. She told Mei Mei about Mr. Schwartz, her dog. She told Mei Mei everything, it seemed, in English. Mei Mei thought about her school. She thought about her favorite book. She thought about char siu bao, her favorite food. And then she thought about Su Fa, her cat, in Chinese. But Nancy wouldn't stop talking. She went on and on and on. "Forever talking," yelled Mei Mei in English. Nancy didn't seem to hear. She kept on talking. She started reading the store signs. She read the names forwards and backwards. Sang Ping became Nip Nas. Mei Mei became Nem Nem. And still, Nancy talked in English. "Stop!" cried Mei Mei. She couldn't stand it anymore. She felt invisible. "I want to talk," she shouted in English. And before she could think about what she was doing, Mei Mei began. She talked about Children's Day in Hong Kong. You get lots of presents. She talked about the dragon dances on Chinese New Year. She talked about her street in Hong Kong and all her friends nearby. She talked for 22 minutes without stopping in English. Nancy was laughing. And as Mei Mei talked, Nancy laughed more and more. Mei Mei started to smile. Then she laughed a little. And then she shook with laughter. They both laughed so hard, neither could say a word in English or Chinese. "Thank you," said Nancy as she gave Mei Mei a hug. "For what?" asked Mei Mei, still laughing. "For giving me a present of English," said Nancy. "You are welcome," said Mei Mei, and to this day, Mei Mei talks in Chinese and English. Okay, so this is the book I Hate English, and this is a wonderful story, basically to celebrate children of different cultures, especially during May, which is Asian Pacific Islanders American Month. We learn from Mei Mei how hard it is to be different and look different. She's sad at times and she misses her home in Hong Kong. Life in America is different, but Mei Mei is very strong. She perseveres. She learns that she can be who she is, Chinese, and still enjoy English and America. It's important to accept people for who they are and learn about them. We should include everyone and not expect people to change and be more like us, but we should encourage them to be who they are and celebrate. And that is what Mei Mei did in this book.